Come on. Become the drum.
At KBLA Talk 1580, we fight the power every day.
Yeah, gotta give us what we want. Gotta give us what we need. Hey.
I listen to KBLA and I love the commercials. I know what the commercials mean. I also, if I'm looking and trying to figure something out, I need something to talk to me that might hit me. And it happens on TV because, you know, every time they show a sporting event, they got the pharmaceutical companies back to back telling people how to fix the sickness on the same stuff that they sell them. So we get it.
Yep, we get it too, Chuck D. And that's why at KBLA Talk 1580, we don't black down.
Drop it. Our freedom of speech is freedom of death. We got to fight the powers that be. Fight the power. Fight the power. Fight the power.
Jesse Jackson Jr. Show. The Jesse Jackson Jr. Show. The Jesse Jackson Jr. Show. The Jesse Jackson Jr. Show. Come on and talk with me. Come on and listen to me. Come on and talk with me. Come on and listen to me. KBLA Talk 1580. Download the app.
Jesse Jackson, welcome forward to the Jesse Jackson Jr. Show on KBLA Talk 1580. The entire planet is at war. Whatever Donald Trump says and whatever Pete Hegseth tried to interpret and Miss Levitt from the White House briefing room, we are in a war that includes and affects every single country on earth. They may not want to call it a world war, but from my perspective, that's exactly what it is. And until we come to terms with identifying exactly what we are looking at, we will not be able to find solutions to a very profound problem created by this administration. So let's start first with the history of U.S. engagement with Iran. The United States involvement in Iran has shifted from a close Cold War era partnership from 1953 to 1979 to decades of severe hostility following the 1979 Islamic Revolution. Key turning points include the 1953 Central Intelligence Agency-backed coup, the 1979 hostage crisis, and ongoing conflicts over nuclear capabilities resulting in lasting sanctions and proxy warfare. Key historical phases. Early relations between 1856 and 1941. Diplomatic ties were established in 1856 with largely cordial relationships, as the U.S. was seen as a neutral alternative to British and Soviet influence. The 1953 coup, Operation Ajax, Central Intelligence Agency and British intelligence agencies orchestrated the overthrow of Iran's democratically elected Prime Minister, Mohammad Mossadegh, after he rationalized, or nationalized, if you will, the oil industry. The U.S. moved to empower Shah Mohammad Reza Pahlavi, established him as the absolute ruler to secure Western interests. Western interests are our interests. The interests associated with $6 a gallon of gas in Los Angeles, in San Francisco, in Santa Monica. Some of the most expensive petrol in the nation. California is feeling it in ways that the entire nation isn't. Still around $3.89 in Chicago, around $4 in New York. But in California, you are feeling the brunt of the crisis. Between 1954 and 1978, the U.S. treated the Shah as a major ally, selling vast amounts of military hardware and aiding in the development of Iran's nuclear program through the Atoms for Peace initiative. And then the 1979 revolution and hostage crisis. Popular unrest led to Ayatollah Khomeini saw and overthrow the Shah of Iran. In November of 1979, militants seized the U.S. Embassy in Tehran, holding 52 American hostages for 444 days, fundamentally breaking relations. I was alive in 1979. I remember, I think it was Ted Koppel, counting down every single day that Americans were being held hostage in Tehran. A difficult moment in American history, and certainly a difficult moment in that relationship. Some could even argue that Jimmy Carter lost his presidency because of that crisis. Hostility and sanctions from 1980 to the present include the Iran-Contra affair during the 1980s. The Reagan administration secretly sold weapons to Iran to fund the Nicaraguan rebels. And then the nuclear deal intentions. In 2015, the U.S. signed the JCPOA to restrict Iran's nuclear program, but President Trump withdrew in 2018, reimposing heavy sanctions. Now, mind you, from that history, the United States was cooperating with the Iranian nuclear program until this crisis. Recent escalations include relations have remained strained, characterized by military strikes, including the 2020 death of Qasem Soleimani and ongoing proxy tensions in the Middle East. Throughout this history, Iran has frequently referred to the United States as the Great Satan, shifting the conflict from political terms to theological terms. Satan is the enemy, while the U.S. has often targeted Iran with sanctions and accusing it of sponsoring terrorism. In January of this year, when the campaign season began for the midterms, the issue was affordability. And what the American people are learning at this hour is that the price of gasoline is going up, but their paychecks are not staying in alignment with the cost of petrol. And petroleum affects every single product, from hair weaves to hair grease to Crisco oil to the rubber on your car tires to the steering wheel in your car to the oil change that you need in your car to public transportation, private transportation. There simply isn't a single product in the United States that is not impacted by the Strait of Hormuz. Affordability, not just the price of eggs, the price of milk, but when one considers that one of the key ingredients to fertilizer, to grow corn, to grow soybean, here in the United States is tied to petroleum and nitrogen that comes from that dark gold in Iran and in the Middle East. And so the questions of affordability aren't just what the local grocer is charging for a dozen eggs or for milk, but what is taking place in the Strait of Hormuz in Iran, the bombings between Iran and Israel, between the United States and Iran, the global conflict that Iran is now expanding to other neighboring Arab countries is going to hit every American in their pocketbook. And our pocketbooks are not going to keep up with that reality. Today, my very special guest, as we prepare to come forward, is Dr. Michael Neighbors, senior pastor of the historic Second Baptist Church in Evanston, Illinois. The 140-year-old church is one of the oldest African-American congregations in North Shore. Since arriving at Second Baptist, Dr. Neighbors has sought to continue leading the church in its historical role as a trumpeter for Christ and as a social justice advocate in Evanston and Metro Chicago. Dr. Neighbors will be our very special guest. We're going to talk all things Iran today because they affect our pocketbooks. I'm Jesse Jackson Jr. You're listening to the Jesse Jackson Jr. Show. More on KBLA Talk 1580 when we come forward.
It's afternoon drive time with Jesse Jackson Jr. Only on KBLA Talk 1580.
Are you drowning in IRS tax debt? Angela was. She called Civic Tax Relief and saved over $80,000. Felicia was having health problems, got behind on her taxes, interest and penalties were adding up. She called Civic Tax Relief and saved over $15,000. Civic Tax Relief is a professional tax negotiation firm that can protect you from the IRS. If you're getting collection letters, call Civic Tax Relief for a free consultation. They will go to work helping you discover all the relief programs you may qualify for free. James owed the IRS $37,000. Civic Tax Relief represented him against the IRS, and by the time everything was completed, he did not owe the IRS anything. If you are in trouble with the IRS, call Civic Tax Relief for your free consultation now. 800-200-2257. 800-200-2257. Get a free consultation and real tax relief. Call 800-200-2257. 800-200-2257.
This is the story of the one. As a maintenance tech at a university, he knows ordering from multiple suppliers takes time away from keeping their arena up and running. That's why he counts on Grainger to get everything he needs, from lighting and HVAC parts to plumbing supplies, all in one place. And with fast, dependable delivery, he's stocked and ready for the next tip-off. Call 1-800-GRAINGER, click Grainger.com, or just stop by. Grainger, for the ones who get it done.
Why'd I go to the doctor? Working on the farm, my heart kept skipping a beat. I didn't think much of it, but my daughters made me get checked out. Turns out I have atrial fibrillation, which increases the risk of stroke about 5 times.
Symptoms like irregular heartbeat, heart racing, chest pain, shortness of breath, fatigue, or lightheadedness can come and go. But if it's AFib, the risk of stroke remains. If you have symptoms, contact a doctor.
I'm so glad I did.
Visit notimetowait.com. Sponsored by Bristol Myers Squibb and Pfizer.
This is a special alert to all Americans who own a vehicle with less than 200,000 miles with an auto warranty about to expire or with no warranty coverage at all. Due to a decline in the economy, CarShield is announcing a low-cost month-to-month vehicle protection plan that is now available to the public to save any driver out-of-pocket expenses on future auto repairs. Call now to find out how you can pay almost nothing for covered auto repairs. Yes, you heard that correctly. Pay almost nothing for covered auto repairs. An open phone line has been established for all drivers to call for a free quick quote. Call 800-478-6430 now. Drivers who are covered will not have to pay for covered repairs again. This protection plan is at an all-time low. Additionally, drivers who activate this vehicle protection today will also receive free roadside assistance, free towing, and car rental options at no additional cost. Call us for your free quick quote today. 800-478-6430. That's 800-478-6430. What do you have to lose? Call 800-478-6430. Again, 800-478-6430.
Now back to more of Jesse Jackson Jr. on KBLA Talk 1580.
The Jesse Jackson Jr. Show. 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 King Polly while he drops the beat. Come on and talk with me. Come on and listen to the need. Come on and talk with me. Come on and listen to the need. KBLA Talk 1580. Download the app.
I'm Jesse Jackson Jr. You're listening to the Jesse Jackson Jr. Show on KBLA Talk 1580. Our very special guest in this hour is Dr. Michael Neighbors. Dr. Neighbors, welcome forward to the Jesse Jackson Jr. Show.
Thank you so much, Jesse. I'm happy to be here and very happy to be talking about the subject matter today.
Dr. Neighbors, I can't wait to hear your insights on this. Dr. Neighbors, when we think about the products that we use, the laptop that I'm on right now, the microphone that I'm speaking through, there's almost not a single product in the United States or in the world that is not impacted by petroleum and by what takes place and presumably peaceably passed through the Strait of Hormuz. We're talking about not only affordability here in the United States, our farmers who need this nitrogen and other forms of chemicals that come from petroleum and the Strait of Hormuz are now changing their planting seasons because they won't have the fertilizer to grow corn. This isn't just our problem. This is a problem in Ethiopia. It is a problem in the Sudan. It is a problem in Johannesburg. It is a problem in South America. It is a problem in Japan. It is a problem in China. We are in a global conflict, an unnecessary global conflict, because Donald Trump, from my perspective, believed that he could shoot a few rockets into Iran, change its leadership, and somehow that would lead to greater peace and global stability. But Dr. Neighbors, in effect, what it has led to is greater chaos. Dr. Neighbors.
Jesse, you're absolutely right. And I am so grateful that you were able to list the products. And, you know, if your show were 3 hours, there would still not be enough time to list all of the products that are adversely affected because of what's happening now in Iran. And so you're spot on with that. I think you're also spot on with the reason why the war began. It began because Donald Trump was under the presumption that he could shoot a few rockets and that he could change the regime and that they would come under his authority. We saw that happen in a similar way in Venezuela when he removed the president and the president's wife from there and took control of that. And there wasn't a lot of backlash on the international scene for why that happened. I think that he was thinking the same thing would happen with Iran. And I think what Donald Trump is motivated by is he's motivated by greed. He's motivated by money. He's trying to find a way where he can benefit from what is happening in Iran with what we sort of call black gold. And somehow, if he can direct that to his own personal resources or the resources of the folks who are around him, that's one of the indicators for why I think he started the war. And of course, you talk about the products and I talk about the products as well. And then there are the people, Jesse. When we stop and think about what will eventually happen, he's been talking for the last couple of weeks now about putting boots on the ground, about having folks who are in our military on the ground and fighting. And if that happens, then we know collectively that a disproportionate amount of people who are on the front lines are Black and brown people, minorities. And so they're going to be affected in the same way that they were affected by all of the wars that have been fought in the United States. So I've got grave concerns about that. And I love the fact that you mentioned that it is now a global catastrophe. It's not just the United States and Iran. It's not just the United States, Iran, and Israel and Lebanon. Every single country in the world is being adversely affected by this in a way where the least and the lowest, those who are suffering the most and living on the margins, are going to pay the heaviest price. And that price may be their lives.
You know, I in this moment, since you've mentioned their lives, meaning the lives of our men and women who could very well end up on Karg Island, where 90% of Iran's oil actually is, I guess, produced or loaded onto cargo ships to move through the Strait of Hormuz. I'm thinking in this moment that the great distraction, let's put the Epstein files aside for a moment. Just put that aside for a moment. Great distraction is the ensuing expected famine and hunger around the world that will be precipitated and created as a result of this. And then think about the things we're not discussing. We're not discussing the Affordable Care Act.
Yes.
It needs to be funded. It needs to be expanded to include dental and vision and hearing. But we can't talk about expanding the Affordable Care Act to dental, vision, and hearing because there are costs associated with it that are now mounting to the tune of $1 billion a day in Iran. We're not discussing the Voting Rights Act,
Yes.
delay decision that will be taking place probably as soon as June, striking down Section 2 of the Voting Rights Act. There are so many issues of concern to Christology, to Christianity, to those of us who believe in civilization.
Yeah.
We can't even focus on right now because we are arguing over a nickel on a gallon of gas or $1 on a gallon of gas, and our paychecks are not keeping up with that reality. In short, we have more month left over than we do paycheck. And there is no discussion in this country at all about raising the minimum wage, of helping make up the costs, because we're working hard, but at the end of a hard day's work, we're still not able to provide for our families. Dr. Neighbors.
Oh my goodness. Absolutely. Everything that you said again is so important for a larger audience. It's important for the American people to hear the issues that you're bringing up because they have been very cleverly, I think, by the administration hidden. They've been pushed to the back. Nobody's talking about everything that you just mentioned, which is having, again, a deleterious effect on masses of people, but not just masses of people. Just keep in mind, the folks who can least afford it are the ones who are suffering the most. They're the ones who are on the front lines who are suffering, but eventually it's going to affect everybody. And the way that I read history is that the masses of people won't really begin to hear how important these issues are until it's personally affecting them. And I think that we're in the midst of that now. You talked about so many different subject matters. I have grave concern, Jesse, about our farmers and the suffering that they're going through. I did not know that they actually are going to have to change their seasonal planning as it relates to what's going on with oil in the Straits of Hormuz. That's amazing to me, and I think it's just incredible. And we have to do something to take this message to a larger audience. What do we do to inform the masses of people in the United States about the perilous danger we are facing? And of course, there's no easy out. It was easy to get in, but it's almost impossible to get out in terms of what we're struggling with right now in Iran.
I'm thinking in this moment that, when you think about a farmer who plans fundamentally different than we do, they think about seasons, right? They think
Yes.
about planting season. They think about the cultivation season and then the planting season and then the harvesting season and then trying to get their product to market for reasonable prices so that they can turn a profit. I was reading the other day that the farm community is experiencing higher incidences of suicidality and suicide attempts because of the uncertainty of the season that they are in. Oftentimes having to sell their farms to larger agribusiness interests,
Yes.
or many of them now opting to build solar panels on vast amounts of real estate, therefore taking farmland out of the production cycle because solar energy for the purposes of sustaining their families and sustaining their communities is far more predictable than waiting for fertilizer or seed to come from the various parts of the world necessary to feed the world's population. I remember, Dr. Neighbors, when I was growing up, they used to talk about John Deere and Cargill. They had a commercial. They had a commercial that said, "We feed the world."
Yeah.
We feed the world. And obviously, the United States, in less than a year of this administration, is no longer interested. The cuts in USAID, the United States Agency for International Development, the seeds that we send beyond the United States to poorest of the poor in the world, they will not be receiving seeds this year.
Yeah.
Dr. Davis, that's a Christian and a moral dilemma.
It is a Christian and moral dilemma, and we bear such significant responsibility for the pain that is being imposed upon people around the world right now. Hunger was always an issue. The hunger is greater now. Poverty has always been an issue. The poverty is greater now. So I think that when you put all of that together and put it under the canopy of farming, we also have to think about those farmers. You know, it's become such a conglomerate, Jesse. There are corporations that are in charge of farms now, whereas a century ago, they were human beings. You know, like you and I. I come from a family of farmers on both my mom's side and my dad's side. They were farmers for generations. And as a result of that, the land has been lost. Any opportunity to be able to take care and provide for your family has been lost. And now it seems that may never come back. It's never going to come back into the hands of independent farmers because of the crisis that we are experiencing right now. Because the crisis, you know, in my estimation, if the crisis were solved within the next 6 months, the dilemma that it has created is going to take a dozen years or more to try to repair. That is a dilemma that is affecting the people that you're talking about around the world. So again, I think, how do we take the narrative and make it a global narrative so that people in every country, so that leaders in every country can understand the reality of what we're facing and reach out and help and assist those people that are dying, that are very poor. And the United States is complicit in all of it, in every single bit of it.
Dr. Neighbors is the former president of the Princeton and Trenton, New Jersey branches of the NAACP and is currently in his third term as president of the Evanston North Shore branch of the NAACP. Dr. Neighbors, who's going to pay the costs associated with the present conflict?
Well, I think that when you think about the cost of war and you look at the history of who paid the cost in historical battles in the past or wars in the past, it's always going to come down to the people. It's always going to come down to folks like you and I who have day jobs, who have to pay taxes. Our taxes are going to raise more and more in order to provide for this war. You already talked about $1 billion a day. So where are they going to take that $1 billion from? That's not in the budget for the military, even though it's the biggest part of the budget of the United States, but it's not in the budget right now for the military. So they've started this war. They're going to social programs. They're going to programs that provide services for, again, the least and the lowest. That's who's going to pay for it. We are paying for it. Human beings like you and I, citizens of the United States. And eventually it's going to be folks around the world. I mean, I got to tell you, I believe that Israel is paying for it right now in many ways because they are being bombed by so many different sources right now. So not only are we going to have to pay for it in terms of the meager incomes that we have right now, but people around the world are certainly going to have to pay for it with their lives as well. It's a tragedy. Every way you look at it, it's a Greek tragedy.
Martin Luther King Jr. said in the I Have a Dream speech that America has issued us a bounce check.
Yes.
It keeps coming back marked insufficient funds.
Yeah.
But we refuse to believe that the great vault of opportunity of this nation is bankrupt. And I can't get that out of my mind in this moment because increasingly it is clear that when America wants to go to war, she can find the resources to fight that war.
Yes.
Or to disrupt the global economy or to disrupt the entire historical traditional basis for peace and negotiation and exchange between nations. What we have decided to do is go it alone in Venezuela, in Iran, in Cuba, and wherever else the dictator in our country decides he wants to go. I find this deeply troubling at this hour, and we need a Congress in this midterms and the American people to stay focused on the accountability that the President of the United States needs, that this administration needs in order to rein in the behavior of the nation's great tyrant. I'm Jesse Jackson Jr. You're listening to the Jesse Jackson Jr. Show on KBLA Talk 1580. Dr. Neighbors earned an undergraduate degree in English and creative writing at the Western Michigan University in Kalamazoo, Michigan, a Master's of Divinity degree with emphasis in systematic theology, and a Master's of Theology with an emphasis on ethics at Princeton Theological Seminary in Princeton, New Jersey. He's our very special guest in this hour. More on KBLA Talk 1580 when we come forward.
It's Afternoon Drive Time with Jesse Jackson Jr. Only on KBLA Talk 1580.
On Amber Payton with BIN News Now. The White House has launched an official app. President Trump highlighted features including a photo gallery of key moments and an ICE tip line.
Today, I'm pleased to announce that my administration is launching a brand new official White House app.
The app is available on both Apple and Google platforms. The Supreme Court has struck down Colorado's ban on conversion therapy for LGBTQ youth, ruling the law violates a therapist's free speech rights. In an 8-1 decision, the court said the First Amendment protects against restricting certain forms of speech, even as major medical organizations have discredited the practice. Justice Neil Gorsuch wrote the majority opinion, while Black Justice Ketanji Brown Jackson was the lone dissenter. And rapper Cardi B has won a legal victory after a judge dismissed a copyright lawsuit over her song Enough. The case was thrown out due to lack of jurisdiction, though it could be refiled elsewhere. Get BIN News Now on demand 24/7 on the iHeartRadio app.
Now is the time to save on an award-winning Nissan at the Nissan Now sales event, featuring the Rogue, Pathfinder, Frontier, and more. Don't wait. These offers are going fast. Shop your Southern California Nissan dealers and NissanUSA.com today.
This is the KBLA Sports Minute with Ray Richardson.
The Lakers had an easy time with the Washington Wizards Monday night without Luka Doncic. The NBA scoring leader was at home serving a one-game suspension for getting his 16th technical foul this season. The Lakers beat the Wizards 120-101. A triple-double for LeBron, 21 points, 12 assists, and 10 rebounds. The Lakers are at home tonight against Cleveland. The Clippers are also at home tonight at the Intuit Dome in Inglewood. They take on Portland. The Clippers are going for their 6th straight win. The same teams in last year's Final Four in the NCAA Women's Basketball Tournament are back again this year. Texas and South Carolina will join UCLA and undefeated UConn in Phoenix. UCLA plays Texas Friday night. Texas is the only team to beat UCLA this season. The Bruins have won 29 straight since losing to Texas on November 26. More on this rematch throughout the week. No debates, no speculation, just the info you need. That's your KBLA Sports Minute. I'm Ray Richardson on KBLA Talk 1580.
This is KBLA Talk 1580. Talk radio that's music to your ears. We're unapologetically progressive. KBLA Talk 1580. We've got a lot to talk about.
I'm Reverend Gerald, the life coach. Is someone you love struggling with addiction and mental illness? Is improving your family's health important? Want to leave a legacy that your family can grow? Are you ready to enhance your perception of life experiences? Then wake up weekends at 7 a.m. with Urban Family Focus and get the wisdom, opportunity, resources, and motivation to live your best life. Join the conversation on Urban Family Focus Saturday and Sunday at 7 a.m.
Unapologetically progressive. KBLA Talk 1580. We've got your black.
It all comes down to this, folks.
Yep, the entire season is on the line. But my throat has officially thrown in the towel.
Sounds like you need Vicks VapoCool drops. They're max strength and vaporize sore throat pain.
Whoa! These VapoCool drops hit fast.
Speaking of fast, did you just see that play?
Yeah, he vaporized that ball.
That fun should have come with a penalty.
Vaporize sore throat pain with Vicks VapoCool drops. Use as directed.
LifeLock, how can I help?
The IRS said I filed my return, but I haven't.
1 in 4 tax-paying Americans has paid the price of identity fraud.
What do I do? My refund, though. I'm freaking out.
Don't worry, I can fix this.
LifeLock fixes identity theft guaranteed and gets your money back with up to $3 million in coverage.
I'm so relieved.
No problem. I'll be with you every step of the way.
1 in 4 was a fraud-paying American. Not anymore. Save up to 40% your first year with promo code NEWS at LifeLock.com. Terms apply.
All I need is one mic.
With a KBLA Talk 1580 editorial, I'm Dr. Nicordelai Corte. Less than 24 hours before a planned California governor's debate, USC and KABC Television Channel 7 pulled the plug after a week of growing outrage that not a single candidate of color had been invited to participate. USC says it was just math, polling numbers, fundraising totals, nothing personal. But here's the problem with that argument. Every one of the 6 candidates who made the cut was white, and every one of the candidates left out was not. At some point, the outcome is the message, regardless of the formula that produced it. The 4 excluded candidates, former U.S. Health Secretary Javier Becerra, former L.A. Mayor Antonio Villaraigosa, former State Controller Betty Yee, and State Superintendent Tony Thurmond, are not fringe figures. These are people who've won major statewide elections and served millions of Californians. Here's the deeper lesson. California is one of the most diverse states in the nation. Latino voters, Black voters, and Asian American voters don't just live here. We decide elections here. When the people organizing a debate about California's future build a stage that looks nothing like California, they're not just making a scheduling error, they're sending a signal about whose voice matters. Even some of the invited candidates called on USC to expand the field, ostensibly because they understood what was at stake. That said, it is worth noting that none of the invited candidates had the courage to stand in solidarity with people of color and bow out of participating in the debate. But we'll leave that alone for now. Canceling the debate was not a victory. It was damage control. The real lesson is that diversity cannot be an afterthought in the criteria. It has to be baked into the thinking from the very beginning. Voters of color are not a special interest. We are the electorate. With the KBLA Talk 1580 editorial, I'm Dr. Nicordelai Corte. As always, we welcome your feedback.
You're listening to Jesse Jackson Jr. on KBLA Talk 1580.
The Jesse Jackson Jr. Show. 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 King Quality drops the beat. Come on and talk with me. Come on and listen to me. Come on and talk with me. Come on and listen to me. KBLA Talk 1580. Download the app.
I'm Jesse Jackson Jr. Welcome forward to the Jesse Jackson Jr. Show. Our very special guest in this hour is Dr. Michael Neighbors. Dr. Neighbors, welcome forward to the show.
Thank you, Jesse. Happy to be here.
Hey, we're on the J Lunch Club today, and I want to tell you that if you're listening to me today on the 405, the 101, the 10, the 110, the 5, on the 118 in California, or in Chicago on I-94, the 80, I-80, I-57, 294, 55, look down for just a quick moment at where the needle is on your gas. And ask yourself, who is picking up the additional cost of you going to work and sitting in traffic all day for the prices of gas? Is your paycheck keeping up with what's taking place in your life, in your home, around your kitchen table? If you go to Subway and you're used to ordering a foot-long number 13, I think that's the Italian sub, you might want to get half a sub. Not a whole sub, but half a sub. Because the American people, Dr. Neighbors, are making real choices. There's a great friend of mine in Chicago. His name is Dr. Willie Wilson. He is known for having gas giveaways.
Yeah.
With cars lined up for a mile. People trying to get a free tank of gas. I haven't even heard from Willie Wilson right through here. I'm thinking that some of our organizations who are witnessing essentially a video game, that's how it's being rolled out without an honest press in the Pentagon, without an honest press. They're essentially watching video games on social media, planes blowing up, rockets being fired. It seems so easy because we are detached. But today, the governor of the state of California has put all of the law enforcement agencies on high alert because of a perceived threat, and it could be real. I don't know. Who do I trust? Do I trust what Donald Trump says or what Pete Hegseth says or what? I don't know who to trust. The Iranians, in a kind of different asymmetric kind of warfare, they don't have battleships that can reach the United States. But there's now talk about the release of drones domestically in the United States, kind of a bell whistle to sleeper cells that could possibly be in the United States to bring the war to the American people in a way that they can personally feel it. Dr. Neighbors.
Yeah, that is amazing information, Jesse, and obviously we think about 911 and what happened on that day, and of course we think about a couple of other wars that have been fought on the shores of the United States, the Civil War, the American Revolutionary War of 1812. Our country has seen its share of bloodshed right here. On our own terra firma. So for me, when you say that, it lifts a greater degree of concern and worry for the average person. One of the things that I have learned is that many people that are working in the administration around the DC area are not actually living in their homes. They're actually living on a military base outside of Washington, D.C. That ought to have grave concern for all of us when we think about that. And when I think about the United States and all of that history, when I think about the Revolutionary War, the War of 1812, the Civil War, the post-Civil Wars, which included our Buffalo Soldiers, the Spanish-American War. When I think about all of those, one of the things that comes to mind for me, Jesse, is that I don't think the United States has really had a moment of reckoning for its past and for the wrongs that it's done. And I think so much of that is sort of becoming a reality right now when you think about the countries that we are attacking, the wars that we're involved in, are people that are of Black and brown skin color. And when I think about what the United Nations did just last week, on March 25th, the United Nations actually passed an incredible resolution through the General Assembly at their 80th General Assembly, which said basically that they unequivocally condemned the trafficking of enslaved Africans and the racialized shadow enslavement of Africans. And they not only condemned it, Jesse, but they called it the worst crime against humanity in the history of the world. And of all of the countries that are a part of the United Nations, 178 altogether, there were only 3 that voted against it. That was the United States, Israel, and Argentina. And we all know about the relationships that they have and all of that. It is not beyond me that 2 of those countries that voted against this incredible resolution are involved in the war in Iran right now. In my estimation, so much of this is connected, and so much of it has to do with race. It has to do with hubris and avarice. It has to do with this sense of white superiority and white privilege that seems to be ruining our world and our global climate even right now.
I think in this moment about my father, the late Reverend Jesse Jackson, and he said that when questioned about foreign policy and about trade, my father would respond, African Americans were brought here as a function of trade policy.
Yes.
The commodification of our bodies.
Yes.
It's like going down any aisle in a grocery store and picking a young Negro, a young female Negro, an old Negro, a house Negro, a field Negro. You had a selection of Negroes, African slaves, that you could choose to work on your plantation. The idea of trade policy is also a factor in our struggle for liberation. So we are concerned about the Strait of Hormuz.
Yes.
We are concerned about United States Agency for International Development and making sure that poor people around the world have something to eat. We are concerned, or as Martin Luther King Jr. said, we are inextricably bound in a covenant, if you will, of mutuality.
Yeah. Yes.
And what happens to one indirectly happens to others directly, and that we simply cannot escape it. A real moral dilemma for the nation, Dr. Neighbors.
It is a real moral dilemma, and it goes back hundreds of years. It probably goes back half a millennia, even before the United States became independent in 1776. And one of the things about the resolution that struck me is not just calling the African slave trade and the consequences of it the worst crime in the history of the world, but it also put another caveat in there, Jesse, and they talked about affirming the importance of addressing historical wrongs that affect Africans and people of African descent, to the point where they are suggesting to all of their member states that they need to promote justice, human rights, dignity, healing, emphasizing the claims for reparations, and all of this representing a concrete step in the right direction. So we have this war that's going on now that is affecting the entire globe, but we have the country of Ghana that puts forth this incredible resolution that has such ramifications on just about all of the countries in the world, and that's not being talked about either. That's not being discussed. It's almost like the reality of racism, the reality of slavery, all of that is once more being brushed under the rug in favor of this whole new reality of war in Iran. And when we think about the war in Iran, and you mentioned it already, put aside the issue of the Epstein files and talk about everything else that is happening, that's having an effect on because of the war that is going on. Well, I think what's having a really deleterious effect is that countries are now ignoring what went on in the United Nations last week, again, for Black and brown people. So I'm concerned about that. And I think that there is an interconnection. I think there is this mutual web of interdependence that Dr. King talked about so long ago. We're seeing that happen right now. A war is happening, people are dying, and we're not talking about reparations and helping the least and the lowest and those who are suffering the most.
I'm Jesse Jackson Jr., listening to the Jesse Jackson Jr. Show on KBLA Talk 1580. Our very special guest, Reverend Dr. Michael Neighbors. More when we come forward right here on KBLA Talk 1580.
While you're stuck in traffic, we can at least bring you up to speed on the news of the day. You're listening to Jesse Jackson Jr. only on KBLA Talk 1580.
We're at Doolin's on Crenshaw. It's a special place where the neighborhood comes together. Got the fried chicken, the catfish, the candied yams, the mac and cheese. It's all delicious. I'm Isaac Bryan. I represent the Crenshaw District in the California State Legislature, and I'm supporting Tom Steyer for governor of California. California is under attack, and we need a fighter who's going to come in on day one and stand up for California values and push back. That person is Tom Steyer. Tom and I have been fighting together for the better part of a decade. Tom is the only candidate supported by Smart Justice, because Tom has stood on the front lines of racial justice, economic justice, and true solidarity. Tom is the real deal. He's the only candidate in the race with a comprehensive plan to make the billionaires and the corporations pay their fair share so we can fund things like universal healthcare and education. He means what he says, and he does what we need. This is a moment when we've got to fight fire with fire, and I believe that fire is Tom Steyer.
Ad paid for by Steyer for Governor 2026.
Imagine every pregnant person in LA County having the support they deserve. A doula on every block. Doulas provide emotional, physical, and informational support during pregnancy, through labor, and beyond. Medi-Cal now covers doula care. That means you can get the support you need or train to support families in your community. The LA County Medi-Cal Doula Hub is here to help. Learn more and get started today at ladoulahub.com.
Getting around LA doesn't have to cost a lot. Metro has fares that fit every budget. 20 free rides for qualified riders through the Life Fare program. Free passes for students with GoPass and affordable options for everyone in between. Wherever you're going, Metro's got you covered. Visit metro.net/fare programs.
Lena Bloom for the Bail Project. Imagine you're stuck in a jail cell and you can't afford bail and someone offers you a way out. Just plead guilty and you can go home and kiss your kids goodnight. What do? What thousands have. You plead guilty whether you are or not. Cash bail makes poverty a crime. That's why the Bail Project helps those who can't afford it while fighting to end cash bail. Because freedom should be free. Brought to you by the Ad Council.
What if your rooftop could earn you money every year? With LADWP's Solar Rooftops program, you can get solar panels installed and maintained on your home at no cost and earn up to $900 a year. That's up to $18,000 over 20 years. There are no upfront costs, no credit checks, and no annual fees. Plus, you'll help power Los Angeles with clean local solar energy and reduce reliance on fossil fuels. Make your rooftop work for you. Apply today at ladwp.com/solar rooftops.
KBLA Talk 1580. We've got a lot to talk about.
KBLA Talk 1580, connecting you with services and solutions. 10 Toes In serves as a mentorship and domestic violence prevention program. They support, educate, and empower couples during and after incarceration. They assist male returning citizens to re-enter society successfully and to help them maintain a healthy relationship with their romantic partner. They offer a mentorship support group for formerly incarcerated men. 10 Toes In teaches its Intimate Relationships 101 curriculum at male prisons throughout the state of California. They host sister support group meetings for women who are intimately involved with incarcerated and formerly incarcerated men. 10 Toes In is a 501c3 nonprofit organization. To access their services or make a donation, please visit them online at 10toesin.org or find them on Facebook or Instagram. They are healing lives through relationships. This is a community call to action from KBLA Talk 1580.
Now back to more of Jesse Jackson Jr. on KBLA Talk 1580.
The Jesse Jackson Jr. Show. 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 King Volley, drop the beat. Come on and talk with me. Come on and listen to me.
I'm Jesse Jackson Jr.
Come on and talk with me. Come on and listen to me. KBLA.
Welcome to the Jesse Jackson Jr. Show on KBLA Talk 1580. This is our final segment with Dr. Michael Neighbors, who has been both a Samuel DeWitt Proctor and Benjamin Elijah Mays Fellow. That means Dr. Neighbors is heavy as they come. Samuel DeWitt Proctor, former president of North Carolina A&T State University, and I also believe pastor of Abyssinian Church in New York, the Great Abyssinian. And Benjamin Elijah Mays, also the president of Morehouse College, teacher and mentor of Martin Luther King Jr., and scores of Black preachers and civil rights leaders across the history of our country. Dr. Neighbors, welcome forward to the Jesse Jackson Jr. Show.
Thank you, Jesse. Thank you so much.
Dr. Neighbors, I know that the final 3 minutes of our program at the top of the hour will be yours to offer a word of hope, so I'll give you a moment to think about that. But I'm thinking also that these relationships that Donald Trump is straining are going to be near impossible to restore in a single term by a single president of either political party. The disruption, the chaos is so great that the norms, whatever the new norms will be established, I've not even heard any of the so-called Democratic candidates who are running for president offering, I think I did hear from Governor J.B. Pritzker something the other day about Project 2029, but I've not heard, even in his Project 2029, that on day one, I am assigning an executive order to overturn every single one of Donald Trump's executive orders.
Right.
No one has gone that far.
Yeah.
They haven't gone that far, and we've seen no action from Congress. Dr. Neighbors, I think we have a new norm here that's going to take, as you stated earlier, decades to rebuild.
Yeah, I do. And it is not something that's very encouraging to me. And I'm sure that you feel the same way. I mean, we are parents. I have 6 wonderful children, 3 girls and 3 boys, and all but one are adults already. And some have begun their own families. So when I think about the future and I think about their future, there is a sense of significant concern that happens. And every generation in the United States, it seems like the parents always wanted more for their children, and that at some point the next generation would have more than what we had in our own generation. We are now living in a reality that that's not the case. Most sociologists and economists argue that the next generations that are coming along will not be able to benefit in the same way that our generation has benefited. They will not be making as much money as us. They will not be able to handle the soaring cost of living that will probably be through the roof. And what has really added to that is this confounding war that is happening now in Iran, caused by Donald Trump and his administration. So that gives great concern for what the future holds. And I'm glad you brought that up, because what that means is, while we have to really put our minds together, we have to put our hearts together, we have to put our faith together to create a strategy that is not just Project 2029, but, Project 2059, Project 2100. And what's going to have to happen is we're going to have to figure out how we can cross the aisle, which really seems impossible. So before we start really trying to change the world, we have to figure out how can we learn how to get along in the United States as brothers and sisters.
Dr. Neighbors, as we prepare for your word of hope, I'm thinking about this speech. I believe it was in April of 1967, Beyond Vietnam, that Martin Luther King Jr. was talking about the need for a revolution of values. He recognized that even though brief progress had been made on programs of social uplift, Congress was now shifting the resources to those social programs, which would lead to, obviously, a campaign, a war on poverty, if you will, that Dr. King advanced before his assassination, that Congress was forsaking its responsibilities to, one, rein in the war, and to use those resources for programs of domestic uplift. I'm thinking in this moment, as you reflect upon your word of hope, that this transformation, this revolution of values, and recognizing that we are too on the Strait of Hormuz, that we are all connected and that we can't get away inextricably because of that mutuality. Dr. Neighbors.
Yeah. Oh, my goodness. Well, the speech that you quoted from Dr. King occurred, the first Sunday of April, 1967, in the pulpit of Riverside Church in New York City. And it was such a powerful speech, and it had such a groundswell of incredible effect that I do want you to know that greatly affected the rest of Dr. King's life, which was only a year. Only 1 year was left. As a result of that speech, President Johnson literally turned his back on Martin Luther King Jr., had no more dialogue with him at all, encouraged those folks who were very close to Dr. King to no longer be close to Dr. King because he felt like Dr. King was speaking out against him because he was speaking out against the Vietnam War. And I think that what we're doing right now in this day and age and what we're talking about right now, we are speaking out against the war. And in speaking out against the war, we are speaking out against the present administration. We are speaking out against the president who is responsible for doing that. But there are ramifications for that. And the ramifications, in my estimation, we have to be prepared for that. We have to be prepared for the hatred. We have to be prepared for the vitriol, but we have to be able to stand tall and recognize that there is a cause and there is a law that is greater than man's law. And so when I think about, this word of hope, as we go into that now, I think about all of the wonderful words spoken about war in the past. I think it was Eleanor Roosevelt who said the most amazing thing, Jesse. She said there was no winner in the last war. And then she went on to say, there is no winner in any war. And when I think about all of the wonderful quotes that have been made, Dwight D. Eisenhower, who was a general and the president, said, I hate war as only a soldier can hate the war, the one who has seen its brutality, its futility, and its stupidity. And of course, the French writer Sartre, I think, was just tremendous when he said, when the rich make war, it's the poor that die. So it's important for us to wake up and to recognize that in the reality that we're facing right now, again, wealthy men are the ones that create war. It's the poor who fight the war. And that is not just, and that is right. I don't believe that this is a just war by any stretch of the imagination. I think that it was filled with greed. That's what started it. And we have to continue to be narrators, Jesse. So I appreciate what you're doing, and don't stop. Please keep on doing it.
Dr. Neighbors, we love you here at KBLA and on the Jesse Jackson Jr. Show, and there's nothing you can do about it.
Yeah. Thank you, man. We love you too. Absolutely.
Thank you for being our very special guest. More on the Jesse Jackson Jr. Show on KBLA Talk 1580. We'll be on the grind, Tenacious Tuesday, with Barbara Arnwine. She's doing double duty for us this week. I want to thank our producer, Gina Towns, and all of the women of the Jesse Jackson Jr. Show who contributed for Women's History Month right here at KBLA. More when we come forward on KBLA Talk 1580.
KBLA 1580 Santa Monica.
I'm Amber Payton with BIN News Now. The White House has launched an official app. President Trump highlighted features including a photo gallery of key moments and an ICE tip line.
Today, I'm pleased to announce that my administration is launching a brand new official White House app.
The app is available on both Apple and Google platforms. The Supreme Court has struck down Colorado's ban on conversion therapy for LGBTQ youth, ruling the law violates a therapist's free speech rights. In an 8-1 decision, the court said the First Amendment protects against restricting certain forms of speech, even as major medical organizations have discredited the practice. Justice Neil Gorsuch wrote the majority opinion, while Black Justice Ketanji Brown Jackson was the lone dissenter. And rapper Cardi B has won a legal victory after a judge dismissed a copyright lawsuit over her song Enough. The case was thrown out due to lack of jurisdiction, though it could be refiled elsewhere. Get BIN News Now on demand 24/7 on the iHeartRadio app.
Now is the time to save on an award-winning Nissan at the Nissan Now sales event, featuring the Rogue, Pathfinder, Frontier, and more. Don't wait. These offers are going fast. Shop your Southern California Nissan dealers and NissanUSA.com today.
This is the KBLA Sports Minute with Ray Richardson.
The Lakers had an easy time with the Washington Wizards Monday night without Luka Doncic. The NBA scoring leader was at home serving a one-game suspension for getting his 16th technical foul this season. The Lakers beat the Wizards 120-101. A triple-double for LeBron, 21 points, 12 assists, and 10 rebounds. The Lakers are at home tonight against Cleveland. The Clippers are also at home tonight at the Intuit Dome in Inglewood. They take on Portland. The Clippers are going for their 6th straight win. The same teams in last year's Final Four in the NCAA Women's Basketball Tournament are back again this year. Texas and South Carolina will join UCLA and undefeated UConn in Phoenix. UCLA plays Texas Friday night. Texas is the only team to beat UCLA this season. The Bruins have won 29 straight since losing to Texas on November 26. More on this rematch throughout the week. No debates, no speculation, just the info you need. That's your KBLA Sports Minute. I'm Ray Richardson on KBLA Talk 1580.
All I need is one mic.
With a KBLA Talk 1580 editorial, I'm Dr. Nicordelai Corte. Less than 24 hours before a planned California governor's debate, USC and KABC Television Channel 7 pulled the plug after a week of growing outrage that not a single candidate of color had been invited to participate. USC says it was just math, polling numbers, fundraising totals, nothing personal. But here's the problem with that argument. Every one of the 6 candidates who made the cut was white, and every one of the candidates left out was not. At some point, the outcome is the message, regardless of the formula that produced it. The 4 excluded candidates, former U.S. Health Secretary Javier Becerra, former L.A. Mayor Antonio Villaraigosa, former State Controller Betty Yee, and State Superintendent Tony Thurmond, are not fringe figures. These are people who've won major statewide elections and served millions of Californians. Here's the deeper lesson. California is one of the most diverse states in the nation. Latino voters, Black voters, and Asian American voters don't just live here. We decide elections here. When the people organizing a debate about California's future build a stage that looks nothing like California, they're not just making a scheduling error, they're sending a signal about whose voice matters. Even some of the invited candidates called on USC to expand the field ostensibly because they understood what was at stake. That said, it is worth noting that none of the invited candidates had the courage to stand in solidarity with people of color and bow out of participating in the debate. But we'll leave that alone for now. Canceling the debate was not a victory. It was damage control. The real lesson is that diversity cannot be an afterthought in the criteria. It has to be baked into the thinking from the very beginning. Voters of color are not a special interest. We are the electorate. With the KBLA Talk 1580 editorial, I'm Dr. Nicordelai Corte. As always, we welcome your feedback.
Jesse Jackson Jr. Show. The Jesse Jackson Jr. Show. The Jesse Jackson Jr. Show. The Jesse Jackson Jr. Show. Come on and talk with me. Come on and listen to me. Come on and talk with me. Come on and listen to me. KBLA, Talk 1580, download the app.
I'm Jesse Jr. Welcome forward to the Jesse Jackson Jr. Show on KBLA Talk 15. In Los Angeles, if you're on the 405, the 101, the 10, the 110, the 5, or the 118, and you're stuck in traffic, and I know you are on the 101 and the 10 and the 405, and maybe even the 5 and the 118, just peek over at your gas gauge and ask yourself the question, should you top it off? Or should you just ride on home because you don't feel like paying $6 for a gallon of gas? Those of us who are used to filling up our cars, are you filling it up halfway? Are you filling it up just a quarter way? Do you kind of wish you didn't buy a car? And maybe you should use public transportation to go to work. And hopefully, I'm sure, most of our local municipalities are going to pass the costs on to us in the form of increased fees to get on the bus, to ride the train, to get on the metro, or whatever other forms of public transportation are available to us. We are going to feel this war. We are feeling it right now. And yes, it hurts. Our very special guest in this hour is one of the great organizers of the 21st century, Barbara Arnwine, just coming off of a successful third No Kings Day March. She's the president of the Transformative Justice Coalition, internationally renowned for contributions on critical justice issues, including the passage of the landmark Civil Rights Act of '91 and critical provisions of the 2006 reauthorization of provisions of the Voting Rights Act. Barbara, welcome forward to the Jesse Jackson Jr. Show.
Well, thank you for having me and welcome back. I hope you had a really good, relaxing time.
Thank you very much for doing double duty on the show. I know you were here yesterday and you are here again today, and I am so grateful. We are volunteers, and we are grateful for the opportunity here at KBLA. Barbara, I am so impressed with the flexibility of the No Kings marches. That is, you talked yesterday about some of the signs that you saw, and they weren't limited to "We just don't want a king," which was March number 1.
Right.
March
right.
On a new flavor. March number 3 doesn't want to be a war. I mean,
right.
Time you have another No Kings March, it takes on the flavor of what is happening not only in 1, 2, and 3, but it takes on a dynamic of what's taking place in the next No Kings March. That's just how bad a king is. Barbara, catch us up on all that's going on. We were going to put a countdown on you.
No, please. They won't stop. You know you're wrong. So a couple of things is that at each No Kings, what you noticed is a lot of evolution. What I really love is that, we really have been emphasizing, especially in GTL, John Lewis Good Trouble Lives On last year, that we got to make these mass mobilizations fun, joyous, that they can't just be everybody in the street looking miserable and angry and frustrated, that they have to have some sense of joy, because our joy is that we're out there together, and our joy is that we know we're going to win, and that we have them, on the back seat, that they're really worried about everything that we're doing, and because what they're doing is terrible. The other thing that you saw from the first No Kings to the third No Kings is a proliferation of issues, because he's been so overstepping, so violative of our constitutional rights, so horrible. And so now think about it. In October, you did not have the ICE situation was bad, but it was nowhere there was no death of Renee Good, no death of Alex Preddy, no death of Keith Porter. some 15 more people are dead in this period because of ICE's outrageous abusive policies. So it means everything to see, people in the streets with that now as an issue. You saw the no war. All kinds of people raising questions. And the other thing you saw an increase in was people's signs saying, where the hell is our Congress?
Wow.
Where are they? There was more signs, implicating and indicting Congress than I saw in the past. The other good thing, as I mentioned to you the other day, is that I saw more people of color, more Black folks in particular. I know there's a popular meme going on right now where a white woman is saying, "Oh, we don't need Black people in these streets because it's the obligation of white people." No, frankly, we have to have our own self-agency, and our own self-agency means we have to speak for ourselves. And if you're a white ally, the answer is not to say you don't need to be in the streets. To make sure those streets are safe enough for us to be with you in those streets. Not saying that we should sit home, because then if we sit home, our issues don't get addressed. If we sit home, we don't have the experience of making sure that our people are mobilized, not only for No Kings, but mobilized to go to the polls.
Barbara?
So that's incredible.
We're on the grind with Barbara Arnwine. More on KBLA Talk 1580 when we come forward.
It's afternoon drive time with Jesse Jackson Jr. Only on KBLA Talk 1580.
Are you drowning in IRS tax debt? Angela was. She called Civic Tax Relief and saved over $80,000. Felicia was having health problems, got behind on her taxes, interest and penalties were adding up. She called Civic Tax Relief and saved over $15,000. Civic Tax Relief is a professional tax negotiation firm that can protect you from the IRS. If you're getting collection letters, call Civic Tax Relief for a free consultation. They will go to work helping you discover all the relief programs you may qualify for free. James owed the IRS $37,000. Civic Tax Relief represented him against the IRS, and by the time everything was completed, he did not owe the IRS anything. If you are in trouble with the IRS, call Civic Tax Relief for your free consultation now. 800-200-2257. 800-200-2257. Get a free consultation and real tax relief. Call 800-200-2257. 800-200-2257.
This is the story of the one. As a maintenance tech at a university, he knows ordering from multiple suppliers takes time away from keeping their arena up and running. That's why he counts on Grainger to get everything he needs, from lighting and HVAC parts to plumbing supplies, all in one place. And with fast, dependable delivery, he's stocked and ready for the next tip-off. Call 1-800-GRAINGER, click Grainger.com, or just stop by. Grainger, for the ones who get it done.
Why'd I go to the doctor? Working on the farm, my heart kept skipping a beat. I didn't think much of it, but my daughters made me get checked out. Turns out I have atrial fibrillation, which increases the risk of stroke about 5 times.
Symptoms like irregular heartbeat, heart racing, chest pain, shortness of breath, fatigue, or lightheadedness can come and go. But if it's AFib, the risk of stroke remains. If you have symptoms, contact a doctor.
I'm so glad I did.
Visit notimetowait.com. Sponsored by Bristol-Myers Squibb and Pfizer.
This is a special alert to all Americans who own a vehicle with less than 200,000 miles with an auto warranty about to expire or with no warranty coverage at all. Due to a decline in the economy, CarShield is announcing a low-cost month-to-month vehicle protection plan that is now available to the public to save any driver out-of-pocket expenses on future auto repairs. Call now to find out how you can pay almost nothing for covered auto repairs. Yes, you heard that correctly. Pay almost nothing for covered auto repairs. An open phone line has been established for all drivers to call for a free quick quote. Call 800-478-6430 now. Drivers who are covered will not have to pay for covered repairs again. This protection plan is at an all-time low. Additionally, drivers who activate this vehicle protection today will also receive free roadside assistance, free towing, and car rental options at no additional cost. Call us for your free quick quote today. 800-478-6430. That's 800-478-6430. What do you have to lose? Call 800-478-6430. Again, 800-478-6430.
Now back to more of Jesse Jackson Jr. on KBLA Talk 1580.
The Jesse Jackson Jr. Show. The Jesse Jackson Jackson Jr. Show. The Jesse Jackson Jr. Show. The Jesse Jackson Jr. Show. King Volley, drop the beat. Come on and talk with me. Come on and listen to me. Come on and talk with me. Come on and listen to me. KBLA Talk 1580.
I'm Jesse Jackson Jr. Welcome forward to On the Grind with Barbara Arnwine. It's Tenacious Tuesday with our most tenacious guest, Barbara Arnwine. And just before I bring Barbara forward, some of y'all better call Civic Tax Relief. April 15th is just about 15 days away. It's Civic Tax Relief time. We about to pay for this war now, Barbara.
Woo.
The cost of this war is occurring at the same time as the nation's struggle with affordability. I can't think of enough issues that have come together, Barbara, at the same time that impacts the power of a conscientious vote. I think it was Raphael Warnock who said that a vote is a kind of prayer that you cast or that you offer for the kind of world that you want to see. Don't just be voting for somebody because they're your buddy, your friend, they look like you. You better find out what these candidates out here are saying.
Right.
You are voting for war and peace. You are voting for cheaper eggs or more expensive eggs. You're definitely going to have some more expensive lettuce and beans this fall and everything else that's impacted by petroleum. Barbara Arnwine, looking forward to the Jackson Jr. Show.
Thank you for having me. And listen, from day one of this war, you have been on it, talking about the economics of this war. You've been warning people that gas was going to go up. You've been warning people that the prices of everything we treasure, food, everything's going to be impacted by this. You have been out front, ahead of most of the major anchors, most of the major, news programs covering this economic impact. Now everybody's catching up because it's gotten so bad. Folks, this war could bankrupt us as a nation. It is costing us $1 billion a day or more, and we don't have that kind of money. We've been at this for now a month plus, and we have nothing to show for it, really. We done killed all these we done killed all these people, including girls, innocent girls, all these poor folks. We are now talking about, did you see what they wrote today? Talk about it, if we have in this that we're just gonna withdraw and blow everything up. We're gonna, blow up all the grid, blow up all the.
Can you imagine that? Can you imagine that you're going to turn off everyone's refrigerator in a whole country, their freezer, all the food they have? You're going to let it spoil because you're threatening. I mean, at what point in time, Barbara, are these crimes against humanity?
They are. They're major crimes against humanity. And by the way, talking about crimes against humanity, a big shout out to all the African nations, all the African descendant organizations that were able to get the UN last week to declare on the National African Descendants Day that slavery, that the transatlantic slave trade was the gravest crime against humanity. That's a battle that's been going on for decades. Your dad, probably was, in school when people were still, arguing to try to get this happen. It's a major accomplishment. It will mean that the fight for reparations against the European nations that subjugated so much of Africa and exploited it will absolutely be on the line. All the Africans who were killed unnecessarily, all of us who were transported here and elsewhere throughout the Americas and other diaspora locations, all of us will be impacted by this. So folks, stay tuned, keep working. I'm so grateful to everyone who has been part of that ongoing decades, generations long battle.
Barbara, let me just add this to you. Now, I just had to Google this so I could make sure that I was accurate with Barbara Arnwine. The United States, Israel, and Argentina were the only three nations to vote against the March 2026 UN resolution declaring the transatlantic slave trade the gravest crime against humanity. Now, the United States had 400 years of chattel slavery.
Yes.
And they can't vote for a resolution calling it the gravest crime against humanity because they don't believe it was the greatest crime against humanity.
Because they believe that we are racially inferior. A lot of these eugenicists are in that government, that Stephen Miller thing up in the White House. I mean, these are white supremacist folks, true and true. They are hardcore. And these are the people driving immigration policy. They're driving racial relations. They're the ones who are destroying our civil rights laws, the ones who are sending Pam Bundy and her Justice Department before the Supreme Court, arguing the destruction of our voting rights and the Voting Rights Act. These are the folks. This is a consistency here. And oh, by the way, have you caught up on the other big, we've been talking about all the divisions in the right. Have you caught up on the big one that exploded all over the net today? It was bad enough that they've been fighting, between the Senate, the GOP in the Senate and GOP in the House and all kinds of stuff. But today it blew up because
Barbara, too much news. Tell me, what did I miss today?
That you probably saw it. The gun does not match.
The bullet. And then the guy got fired for saying that the gun doesn't match the bullet. That's deep. But let me go back to the slavery thing for just a second before we get.
Let's stay on that.
There is a whole chapter in the Bible.
Yes.
On the Exodus story.
But wait a minute. But
Israel, come on. The entire justification for the state of Israel is that you've been through something. Not just the Holocaust, but you are a people engaged in a liberation tradition that had a right to self-determination. And the argument, of course, is a homeland that you now are defending. But when it comes to other people's slavery, it's not a great crime. I don't.
Remember, if you go right now to the Bible Museum, you will see what's called the Slave Bible. What's missing in the Slave Bible? Exodus. It doesn't exist in the Slave Bible. It's only 14 chapters in the Slave Bible, and they're all about being good to your master. So there was no Exodus, no Moses, no such person does not exist in the Slave Bible. And that Bible was used in the U.S. and that Bible was used in the Caribbean. I'm sure in parts of South America. So I just want folks to understand that you're pointing it out, the hypocrisy. You see, imperialism, which is what we're dealing with, Donald Trump and his administration and Israel, they're involved in imperialism of the worst. It's the white Confederacy imperialism, and what they're attempting to do is yell that that only they can decide what is best for the world to be engaged in, and whatever they don't like, they're going to bomb and obliterate and destroy. It is very dangerous times, people.
Barbara, Argentina had a significant enslaved population, with African slaves arriving from the 16th century, primarily regions now known as Angola and the Congo. They were forced into agriculture, livestock, domestic work, and crafts, many living in Buenos Aires neighborhoods like San Telmo. Slavery was formally abolished in 1853 in Argentina. Now, it just seems that the root of the very founding of some of these countries, there is this slave dilemma that everyone is wrestling with. It's responsible for and shows the hypocrisy of the Declaration of Independence on July 4th, 1776. Frederick Douglass talked about it ad nauseum in a speech that he delivered in Rochester, New York.
Beautiful speech.
Then we think about the Exodus story and the parting of the Red Sea, the creation ultimately after the Holocaust of the State of Israel with the Balfour Agreement. We think about slavery justified and legalized by Argentina. And I might add, to show a correlation, I believe escaping Nazis from a conquered...
That's what I was going to say.
Go ahead and say it then, so I don't have to say it.
Yeah, no. Argentina and that southern part of Brazil has the largest population of Nazis who left Germany when they realized the war was being lost and came to South America. And you see them; they still wear, outfits that are very Nazi looking when you, out in those remote foreign lands. So that's why folks that look like us don't go there for a whole lot of reasons. So this neo-Nazism is absolutely based out of people who are Germanic, out of who are from Germany, and who have believed still in many of those Nazi principles. They didn't have to denounce them in order to get refuge.
Barbara, if we can now pivot back to this bullet not matching the gun.
Ooh-wee. Everybody, that when Charlie Kirk, their hero, was assassinated, that a week later they arrested the Mr. Robinson, whose dad saw him with the gun and said, "Oh, that's my gun, my father's gun, and so this is my son, and I guess he must have done it because he was there, etc., etc." Well, they have the ballistics have been done on the bullet that was pulled from the autopsy. It does not match Mr. Robinson's gun.
Wow.
So who shot him? And of course, all the MAGAites who have been saying that this was not Robinson, or that he didn't do it, that this was a greater plot, a greater internal fight within MAGA, and that this is what this was all about, they are now crowing all over the internet about "we told you so, we told you so." So it's a mess.
I do want to say that Charlie Kirk's assassination was one of the great tragedies of the modern era, and our thoughts and prayers remain with his family because of the way in which he died, but also the challenges, of course, the way in which he lived attracted this kind of now conspiracy theories. I just can't imagine the pain that people are suffering through that part of it now, to start an entirely new dialogue around the conspiracies of what must have happened or might have happened. Almost like going the regular pilgrimage to Dealey Plaza in Dallas, Texas, where when I go to Dallas, I always make it a point to go to Dealey Plaza and say, could it have been here? Could it have been there? Was it up there?
Right.
So this isn't going anywhere. This is going to live with us as a nation for quite some time. Barbara, I'm going to do this twice because I want our listeners to understand that you may or may not have participated in the No Kings March. But on our show and here at KBLA, we have Dr. Attorney Barbara Arnwine, who does go to these events for us and helps shape and lead them on our behalf. We need to be supportive of her and her work. Be the wind beneath her wings. Barbara, how can we support the Transformative Justice Coalition?
You can make a contribution at tjcoalition.org. tjcoalition.org. We do all of this amazing Voting Rights Act. We speak truth to power. We lift up African American culture and history. We also believe in a multiracial democracy where all people are respected and given their dignity. And we really work hard to train young people to be voting rights advocates. And we have trained over 700 such young people. And they are amazing out there doing great work. And we're getting ready to train, we hope, another 100 this year. Help us to do that. Make sure that you make a donation to tjcoalition.org.
That's tjcoalition.org. Support Barbara Arnwine and the Transformative Justice Coalition. Barbara, when we come forward, I know we're still waiting anxiously for a decision from the Supreme Court of the United States on Robinson versus Calais.
I got an update on that one.
Oh my goodness. I do have some questions for you on the viability of Section 2 and whether or not all deliberate speed, this could be disruptive to the November election if these states are forced to begin redrawing congressional districts without consideration for the historic issues that have so dominated it since 1965. I'm Jesse Jackson Jr., listening to the Jesse Jackson Jr. Show. We're on the grind with Barbara Arnwine. More when we come forward right here on KBLA Talk 1580.
It's afternoon drive time with Jesse Jackson Jr. Only on KBLA Talk 1580.
I'm Amber Payton with BIN News Now. Florida Governor Ron DeSantis has signed Missy's law requiring judges to revoke bail for certain dangerous offenders.
And you have sufficient numbers in your chamber to impeach this judge, Tiffany Baker.
He's also calling for the impeachment of Black Judge Tiffany Baker Carper for allowing a suspect to remain on bond, and signed a separate bill increasing penalties for child sex abuse material. Victor Glover, a native of Ontario, California, is set to pilot NASA's Artemis II mission, marking the first crewed flight around the moon in more than 50 years. If successful, he would become the first Black astronaut to make the journey. And 4 Baltimore police officers have been indicted on charges including assault, misconduct, and filing false reports. State's attorney Ivan Bates, who is Black, says the case involved alleged excessive force and stresses accountability, while Black Mayor Brandon Scott says no one is above the law. Get BIN News Now on demand 24/7 on the iHeartRadio app.
Now is the time to save on an award-winning Nissan at the Nissan Now sales event, featuring the Rogue, Pathfinder, Frontier, and more. Don't wait. These offers are going fast. Shop your Southern California Nissan dealers and NissanUSA.com today.
This is the KBLA Sports Minute with Ray Richardson.
The Lakers had an easy time with the Washington Wizards Monday night without Luka Doncic. The NBA scoring leader was at home serving a one-game suspension for getting his 16th technical foul this season. The Lakers beat the Wizards 120-101. A triple-double for LeBron, 21 points, 12 assists, and 10 rebounds. The Lakers are at home tonight against Cleveland. The Clippers are also at home tonight at the Intuit Dome in Inglewood. They take on Portland. The Clippers are going for their 6th straight win. The same teams in last year's Final Four in the NCAA Women's Basketball Tournament are back again this year. Texas and South Carolina will join UCLA and undefeated UConn in Phoenix. UCLA plays Texas Friday night. Texas is the only team to beat UCLA this season. The Bruins have won 29 straight since losing to Texas on November 26th. More on this rematch throughout the week. No debates, no speculation, just the info you need. That's your KBLA Sports Minute. I'm Ray Richardson on KBLA Talk 1580.
This is KBLA Talk 1580. Talk radio. That's music to your ears. We're unapologetically progressive. KBLA Talk 1580.
Hey, LA. Tax money is our money. Let's decide how to spend it together. We deserve investments that actually make our neighborhoods safe, like affordable housing, good jobs, fire prevention and protection, and community support programs. How can we make that happen? Join Black Lives Matter Los Angeles and the Movement for Black Lives for the People's Budget Assembly on April 16th. Together, we'll discuss solutions to problems we're facing and make a plan with fellow Angelinos for a city that works for the people. There'll be food, childcare, and great conversation. It's time to demand a budget that puts the people first. Join us on April 16th at 7 p.m. at BLMLA's Center for Black Power and make your voice heard before the Assembly through the People's Budget Survey. Register today at peoplesbudgetla.com. We'll see you there.
All I need is one mic.
With a KBLA Talk 1580 editorial, I'm Dr. Nicordelai Corte. Less than 24 hours before a planned California governor's debate, USC and KABC Television Channel 7 pulled the plug after a week of growing outrage that not a single candidate of color had been invited to participate. USC says it was just math, polling numbers, fundraising totals, nothing personal. But here's the problem with that argument. Every one of the 6 candidates who made the cut was white, and every one of the candidates left out was not. At some point, the outcome is the message, regardless of the formula that produced it. The 4 excluded candidates, former U.S. Health Secretary Javier Becerra, former L.A. Mayor Antonio Villaraigosa, former State Controller Betty Yee, and State Superintendent Tony Thurmond, are not fringe figures. These are people who've won major statewide elections and served millions of Californians. Here's the deeper lesson. California is one of the most diverse states in the nation. Latino voters, Black voters, and Asian American voters don't just live here. We decide elections here. When the people organizing a debate about California's future build a stage that looks nothing like California, they're not just making a scheduling error, they're sending a signal about whose voice matters. Even some of the invited candidates called on USC to expand the field, ostensibly because they understood what was at stake. That said, it is worth noting that none of the invited candidates had the courage to stand in solidarity with people of color and bow out of participating in the debate. But we'll leave that alone for now. Canceling the debate was not a victory. It was damage control. The real lesson is that diversity cannot be an afterthought in the criteria. It has to be baked into the thinking from the very beginning. Voters of color are not a special interest. We are the electorate. With the KBLA Talk 1580 editorial, I'm Dr. Nicordelai Corte. As always, we welcome your feedback.
You're listening to Jesse Jackson Jr. on KBLA Talk 1580.
The Jesse Jackson Jr. Show. 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 King Quality drops the beat. Come on and talk with me. Come on and listen to me. Come on and talk with me. Come on and listen to me. KBLA Talk 1580. Download.
I'm Jesse Jackson Jr. Welcome forward to the Jesse Jackson Jr. Show. Today we're on the grind with attorney Barbara Arnwine. She's pulling double duty for us this week on the Jesse Jackson Jr. Show. She was brilliant yesterday on our tribute to women and Women's History Month on the final day of that celebration. I guess it's really today. And
Yes, today.
if you are on the 405, the 101, the 10, the 110, the 5, or the 118 in Los Angeles, or on I-94 in Chicago, I-80, I-57, 294, 55, look down at your gas meter in your car. Are you only filling up with a quarter? Waiting for gas prices to go down before you put a half a tank of gas in your car? Is that what you're doing? Listen. These gas prices are not going to get any cheaper. This is the lowest they are going to be. So you got to fill up right now because you're waiting for it to drop to a number that ain't happening as long as there's this conflict in the Strait of Hormuz. And the backlog of ships that are trying to get out of the Strait of Hormuz, it may take months for them to clear the strait just to normalize the economy. The disruption is great all across the globe. And I shared, Barbara, in the last hour that we can call it whatever we want. The fact that this affects every country in the world and every country in the world is feeling the squeeze, this is a world war.
Amen.
Barbara.
You know it, and only this demonic man in the White House could come up with this kind of absurdly dangerous war. I want people to understand when he's talking about he's negotiating with people. Hey, who is he negotiating with?
He just killed everybody.
Right. Remember, you saw the meme that's out that I just love, where he's laying on the psychiatrist's pitch, and the psychiatrist said, "Now tell me about these people you've been negotiating these." But you know what the danger is? It means that they're going to try to put in a puppet regime.
Yeah.
See, people, if you don't understand imperialistic moves, then you really don't understand what he's doing. I mean, he's got the 1940, 1930 playbook that he's working out of. And what they would do is that when they didn't like who was in power, they would kill folks. And then they would put in a puppet regime that would just bow and do whatever they told them to do.
Yeah, the Shaw, man. The Shaw. I remember when they got him out of there.
Remember
and then
this?
they brought him to New York. And then they brought him to New York.
and the people, so people do understand that there are no real negotiations going on, that he's hoping he can get away with doing a puppet regime. But how's he going to do it when the people don't want it? So he's got a real problem, because remember, Iranians aren't stupid. They're highly sophisticated, frankly, and very knowledgeable. So don't think that this is some kind of nation where you just got a whole lot of peasants and have that kind of little imagery in your mind. That's not correct when you're talking about Iran. So this is very, very dangerous move, and he's got us stuck in it. The American government stuck in it, and talking about killing our kids. Gonna kill, send young, send our. Well, anyway, they can't get enough young people, so then raise the age to 42, right? For people to be enlisted, and they are talking about sending them to war. The other thing I wanted to say to everybody, thank you for your opposition to the SAVE Act. Over 1 million plus calls have been received in opposition. Come on, write that number down.
That's the voter suppression bill.
Yes, 202-224-3121. Keep those calls going. Congress, the Senate is in recess until the 13th because they don't know what to do, because they can't pass the SAVE Act. And the president said he's not going to sign any other bills. So they're kind of like in a limbo. And so you got the Senate pointing its hands at the, House, and the House saying it's all the Senate's fault and all the rest of it. But listen, the reality is it's a bad voter suppression bill. Nobody wants it and nobody needs it. Let's talk about this Calais case.
Please, I want you to make that pivot for us, Barbara.
Yes.
What's happening?
Tomorrow is
Tomorrow
another opinion.
Tomorrow what?
Tomorrow is the argument in the birthright citizen case. And it's a possible opinion day, but the day afterwards is definitely an opinion day. And so we're once again on pins and needles. We don't know if they're going to release Calais or not. Calais is the decision that is going to determine whether or not majority-minority districts are considered legal when created because of prior racial discrimination as a remedy, if it's legal to do so. And remember that there's been a request that they, quote, find the totality of Section 2 of the Voting Rights Act, which says that you cannot discriminate on the basis of race. Well, they say that's no longer necessary because there's no racial discrimination in voting. So they are out of control. And the question is, what will the court do? How far will it go? What will it issue? And we're all on pins and needles because it will affect every district that's out there. In fact, what I sent you during the break was a story that broke this week, because we had a Mississippi state senator who was so anxious for the Calais decision that he entered a resolution, because Mississippi only has one of those 90-day legislatures, so their session is over for the year. It was about to be over for the year, so he introduced a preliminary motion to revoke the seats of two of the blacks who had been elected after a judge had created a new Senate map to make sure that the past discrimination where they were being racially blocked was eliminated. And two blacks won those seats. And he said, because of the Calais case coming, get rid of them. And if the Calais case came out and it was adverse, that this motion would mean that their ability to sit in the Senate would be immediately rescinded.
A Republican state senator filed a resolution that would rescind election of 2 African-American state senators if the Supreme Court guts Section 2 of the Voting Rights Act. The move, which failed in committee, illustrates how the pending Supreme Court decision in the Louisiana versus Calais case could be used to disempower minority voters. Barbara, is it your opinion that we're going to see more resolutions like this if, in fact, Section 2 of the Voting Rights Act is gutted?
Yes. And in fact, I had the mighty April England Albright on our radio show today. She is the National Legal Director for Black Voters Matters Fund. And she pointed out that if in fact Calais is really bad, we can lose 191 black state representatives. And as you have heard, between 19 and 25 Congressional Black Caucus members, that this is, injurious to the Hispanic caucus also, that we would lose members. Folks, this is nothing but the only thing they want to save is white political power.
Barbara, let me ask this question. We have about a minute before we come forward, and then, of course, we have the final segment. Barbara, how quickly could the court force the redrawing of congressional districts in the states? Could we see some of this activity like we saw in Texas actually mandated by the court with some kind of all deliberate speed kind of confusion at the last minute before the general election?
Well, in Texas, they approved that horrible map. But what I think you're going to see is just massive confusion. You're going to see a lot of these kind of Jeremy England resolutions. You're going to see all kinds of attempts to redistrict. Have you noticed something new? I noticed it, that for this primary season, 20 plus states will not have their primaries until August. Why do you think that is? They used to be March, April, May. Why are they now August?
Why is that, Barbara?
Because they hope that this case is going to go the wrong way and that they'll be able to to redraw their districts.
I'm Jesse Jackson Jr. You're listening to Jesse Jackson Jr. Show. We're on the grind with Barbara Arnwine. She's laying it out for us today, everybody. If you're on the 405, the 101, the 10, the 110, the 5, the 118 in Chicago, I-94, the 80, 57, 294, and 55, pay attention. The world is about to change, and it's changing very quickly. I'm Jesse Jackson Jr. More on KBLA Talk 1580 with Barbara Arnwine.
While you're stuck in traffic, we can at least bring you up to speed on the news of the day. You're listening to Jesse Jackson Jr. only on KBLA Talk 1580. KBLA Talk 1580. We've got a lot to talk about.
KBLA Talk 1580, connecting you with services and solutions. The BLM Center for Black Power is a hub for Black activism in the city of Los Angeles, a standalone nonprofit affiliated with Black Lives Matter LA. The venue is home to live events, meetings, and organizing drives for Black-led community-based organizations. It is also the base of operations for Black Lives Matter LA. Built on what used to be a nuisance property owned by an arms dealer, the BLM Center for Black Power is in the heart of Leimert Park and has opened its doors to everything from youth organizers to toy drives to film screenings and community town hall meetings. To make a donation or make a request, please visit blmla.org. That's blmla.org. This is a community call to action from KBLA Talk 1580.
Getting around LA doesn't have to cost a lot. Metro has fares that fit every budget. 20 free rides for qualified riders through the Life Fare program. Free passes for students with GoPass and affordable options for everyone in between. Wherever you're going, Metro's got you covered. Visit metro.net/fare programs.
My mom has decided to learn to paint, and she's good.
My dad's now into creative cuisine, and I've already put on 6 pounds.
Learning new things comes with age.
My mom, she started forgetting my name and what we're talking about.
Forgetting well-known things doesn't. Memory loss may be a sign of Alzheimer's disease. Early detection gives you and your loved one time to plan for the future. Learn the warning signs of Alzheimer's at 10signs.org. Brought to you by the Alzheimer's Association and the Ad Council.
Ready to order?
Yes. We're earning unlimited 3% cash back on dining and entertainment with the Capital One Saver card. So let's just get one of everything.
Everything?
Fire everything. The Capital One Saver card is at table 27 and they're earning unlimited 3% cash back.
Yes, Chef! This is so nice.
Had a feeling you'd want 3% cash back on dessert.
Ooh, tiramisu.
Earn unlimited 3% cash back on dining and entertainment with the Capital One Saver card. Capital One, what's in your wallet?
Terms apply. See CapitalOne.com for details.
Roger and Tracy saved over $18,400. Cynthia was recovering from a family tragedy and saved over $10,300. If you are drowning in debt, then call Debt Blue. Debt Blue is a professional debt negotiation firm with over 20 years of experience helping people pay back a fraction of what they owe. Learn how to cut your debt up to half or maybe more. Be debt-free in 24 to 48 months, even with bad credit. With an A+ rating from the BBB, you can rest easy knowing Debt Blue is going to deliver guaranteed debt reduction. Debt Blue offers a success guarantee. You pay nothing unless your debt is reduced or completely resolved. That's right. You save money or it's free. Call now for significant debt relief and a free consultation. 800-200-8879. That's 800-200-8879. You don't have to declare bankruptcy. This program works if you owe $10,000, $20,000, or even $100,000 in debt. Call for your free consultation today. 800-200-8879. That's 800-200-8879.
All I need is one mic.
With a KBLA Talk 1580 editorial, I'm Dr. Nicordelai Corte. Less than 24 hours before a planned California governor's debate, USC and KABC Television Channel 7 pulled the plug after a week of growing outrage that not a single candidate of color had been invited to participate. USC says it was just math, polling numbers, fundraising totals, nothing personal. But here's the problem with that argument. Every one of the 6 candidates who made the cut was white, and every one of the candidates left out was not. At some point, the outcome is the message, regardless of the formula that produced it. The 4 excluded candidates, former U.S. Health Secretary Javier Becerra, former L.A. Mayor Antonio Villaraigosa, former State Controller Betty Yee, and State Superintendent Tony Thurmond, are not fringe figures. These are people who've won major statewide elections and served millions of Californians. Here's the deeper lesson. California is one of the most diverse states in the nation. Latino voters, Black voters, and Asian American voters don't just live here. We decide elections here. When the people organizing a debate about California's future build a stage that looks nothing like California, they're not just making a scheduling error, they're sending a signal about whose voice matters. Even some of the invited candidates called on USC to expand the field, ostensibly because they understood what was at stake. That said, it is worth noting that none of the invited candidates had the courage to stand in solidarity with people of color and bow out of participating in the debate. But we'll leave that alone for now. Canceling the debate was not a victory. It was damage control. The real lesson is that diversity cannot be an afterthought in the criteria. It has to be baked into the thinking from the very beginning. Voters of color are not a special interest. We are the electorate. With the KBLA Talk 1580 editorial, I'm Dr. Nicordelai Corte. As always, we welcome your feedback.
Now back to more of Jesse Jackson Jr. on KBLA Talk 1580.
The Jesse Jackson Jr. Show. 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 King Folly drops the beat. Come on and talk with me. Come on and listen to me.
Welcome forward.
Come on and talk with me. Come on and listen to me. KBLA Talk 1580.
Download the app. Hey, this is Jesse Jackson Jr. We're on the line with Barbara Arnwine right here on Tuesday, March 31st, Tenacious Tuesday, with our most tenacious guest. Barbara, in light of the conversation we were just having before we came forward, we are looking at a Passover unlike any other Passover we've seen in multiple generations. I mean, a real Passover, like being on our knees and asking God to protect us from the evils that are in our midst. Plagues, lack of education funding, lack of healthcare funding, our representation being attacked maybe as early as tomorrow and possibly as late as Thursday, but certainly by June.
Yes.
Possibility of redrawing congressional districts all across this country before November, if the court decides so, with Pam Bondi, with unlimited resources being able to bring teams of lawyers into states challenging state legislative congressional districts and state representative districts, rewriting the map of the entire United States, creating mass confusion. People who voted in this primary process may end up voting for another congressman come November if the lines are redrawn simply because the line changed from one side of the street to the other. This kind of chaos is designed to undermine democracy. Barbara, a Passover unlike any Passover we've seen since the first Passover.
Yes. And it's because people, if you stayed at home, if you're one of those 19 million people who voted in 2020 and did not vote in 2024, you have responsibility here. If you're one of the people who voted for this madman and knowing all of his flaws, knowing about January 6th, and you said, well, it can't do any harm. They're all the same. Politicians are no different. If you really deluded yourself, then you have responsibility here. If you were so hateful that you wanted him at his worst and you voted for him to do what he's doing, then you also have responsibility here. I want folks to understand that the story's not over yet. This chapter is not fully written. And thank God it's not. Because the difference between what they want and what will happen is us. And I just want to remind people that you still have the ability to vote. That in the last 18 months, 27 seats have flipped from deep red to blue. And I'm just saying what happened. And it's indication that the American people are pissed the hell off. And Mar-a-Lago. And even though people are being selfish because they're mad about their gas, we got to be ashamed of ourselves because this man is hurting the whole world now. He's abusing the entire world. And so it's our fault that that's happening, Americans, if you did not vote or you voted for what is happening. So what I want people to do, mark this date, mark these days in your calendar. Mark May 1st. May 1st is the closest thing to a general strike that will happen in the United States. Wow. No school, no work, no shopping. No school, no work, no shopping. That will be May 1st. Please mark it on your calendar. Next, July 17th through the 19th is John Lewis Good Trouble Lives On. We will be out in these streets. We're going to have the largest voter registration drive in the history of the United States. The largest voter education drive in the history of the United States. We're going to be recruiting folks to be out in these streets, actively educating voters to navigate all this voter suppression mess. We will be in the courts, of course, fighting like hell of whatever happens with this Calais case. So I just want people to know that, at the beginning of this administration, many people were like, it's hopeless. There's nothing that can be done. There have been 700 lawsuits filed against this man. And we have won 70% of all the decisions that have been rendered. Folks, when you fight, you win. Vincent Hughes in Chicago invoked the spirit and the legacy of Jesse Louis Jackson Sr. And he wore his Keep Hope Alive shirt and displayed it mightily like Superman when he was on that stage closing out the No Kings in front of 40,000 people. When he was doing that, he talked about the legacy of Jesse Louis Jackson Sr. and called for all of us to have his fighting spirit, had the crowd yelling, keep hope alive. Reminded everybody, I am somebody. But as he left the stage, he said one of our favorite quotes, when we fight, we win.
I'm Jackson Jr. listening to Jesse Jackson Jr. Show, our very special guest on the grind with none other than Barbara Arnwine, president and founder of the Transformative Justice Coalition. I remember, and I know that we're closing now, Barbara, I remember when Dad once said, that people were voting for Reagan not because they knew what he stood for, but because of the way he made them feel. And Dad was very candid. He said Ronald Reagan made them feel real white. He made them feel proud to be. And I was watching an interview from of an interviewer of a MAGA supporter at a MAGA event. And the guy asked the MAGA supporter, why did you vote for Donald Trump? He said, because he's doing a lot of good stuff. Then he asked him specifically, what had he done? And for maybe 10 seconds, which seemed like forever in the interview, he said, you got me stumped right there. He hasn't done anything. He just made you feel good about being white. Real white. I'm Jesse Jackson Jr. You're listening to Jesse Jackson Jr. Show on KBLA Talk 1580. Love you, Barbara, and there's nothing you can do about it.
You're the best. Thank you. Thank you. Thank you for all that you do and for bringing hard, straight education to people. It was a pleasure to do that show yesterday. Thank you.
I'm Jesse Jackson Jr. Until tomorrow, more on KBLA Talk 1580 when we come forward.
KBLA 1580 Santa Monica.